Welcome to Weekly China Recap with Xing Zheming. This week, we're diving into perhaps the most important political and economic development of 2025, the Fourth Plenary Session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. At this meeting, China's top leadership adopted the recommendations for formulating the Fifth Five-Year Plan for Economic and Social Development, a master plan that will guide the country's direction from 2026 to 2030. This is not just another policy document, it's a strategic blueprint that lays out how China intends to move forward amid global uncertainties, rising geopolitical tensions, and complex domestic challenges. This plan is perhaps China's most important top-down strategy in years, carefully balancing ambition with pragmatism. China's leadership made one thing very clear: the focus is on high-quality growth, industrial modernization, and technological self-reliance. The document shows that China is not aiming for unrealistic high-speed growth. Instead, it's about building a resilient economy, one that can withstand external pressure, reduce dependency on others, and create a stronger domestic engine for growth. It's China saying, "We've come this far, now let's build strength from within." According to the communiqué, China hopes that by 2035, its per capita GDP will reach the level of a mid-level developed country, while socialist modernization will be basically achieved. By then, China aims to be wealthier, greener, and more innovative, a global leader not only in size, but also in quality. The plan calls for significant progress in science and technology, stronger national security, greater social equality, and continued environmental protection under the Beautiful China initiative. In short, a stronger, safer, and fairer China, with modern industries, cleaner air, and a more secure society. So what will China actually do in the next 5 years? In the communiqué, China's top leadership laid out a clear direction for the next stage of modernization, anchored in 7 strategic areas that will define the country's competitiveness and resilience in the years to come. These areas are not entirely new, but the way they are now framed signals how Beijing sees the future global landscape, one where technology, security, and sustainability intersect more than ever. First, the party reaffirmed its commitment to advanced manufacturing and industrial upgrading. China plans to strengthen its real economy through high-end equipment, new materials, aerospace, transportation, and smart manufacturing. The aim is to keep manufacturing at the core of the national economy while shifting from scale-driven growth to innovation-led productivity. This move reflects China's determination to avoid the so-called middle-income trap and stay competitive in global value chains. Second, the communiqué highlights science and technology self-reliance as a strategic pillar. The message is unmistakable. Breakthroughs in frontier fields, from semiconductors and artificial intelligence to quantum computing and life sciences, must come from within. This is what Chinese policymakers now describe as new quality productive forces, a phrase that captures the country's next growth engine. Third, green and digital transformation will be a due priority. The leadership pledged to accelerate the energy transition, deepen carbon reduction efforts, and expand the digital economy. This includes large-scale investment in renewable energy, energy storage, and green technologies, while also building digital infrastructure to support data-driven industries. In parallel, China will continue to push for financial stability and risk control, ensuring that growth remains sustainable even amid external shocks. The other strategic areas include agriculture and rural modernization, regional coordination, and national security capacity building, all designed to secure the economic and social foundation of a country that aims to be both strong and stable. Together, these 7 sectors form the backbone of China's next development stage, an ambitious yet pragmatic roadmap that blends innovation, resilience, and reform into one long-term national strategy. More specifically, the head of China's National Development Reform Commission said at a press briefing after the full communiqué was publicized mention some execution details that we can look at. China rose to prominence through the real economy, manufacturing, infrastructure, logistics, and it will continue to rely on it for the future. The new framework includes 4 main pillars: upgrading traditional industries like chemicals, machinery, and shipbuilding, still 80% of China's industrial base; cultivating new and emerging industries, from new energy to materials to aerospace and low-altitude economy; accelerating future industries like quantum tech, biomanufacturing, hydrogen, brain-computer interface, and 6G communication. Officials estimate these new sectors could add the equivalent of another China's high-tech industry within the next decade. This is China's version of an industrial revolution, with strong government backing and an ambition to dominate the global supply chain in both depth and quality. Another highlight is the focus on domestic demand, long seen as China's weakest link. The plan calls for the creation of a strong domestic market, emphasizing that big economies must rely on internal growth. That means boosting consumption, improving services, and ensuring investment goes to areas that truly matter: people's livelihood, technology, and infrastructure. China's annual fixed asset investment has already exceeded 50 trillion yuan. In the next 5 years, we'll see more targeted spending, using every yuan wisely, as the NDRC has said, to build growth, digital network, and smart infrastructure that serve both growth and sustainability. Even as China strengthens its internal systems, opening up remains a key theme. Commerce Minister Wang Wentao emphasized that China will open wider to the world, but on its own terms, focusing on mutually beneficial cooperation, not zero-sum competition. Beijing will continue to advocate for stable global supply chains and fair trade while opposing decoupling and fragmentation. In short, China wants to remain connected to the world, but with greater control over how those connections work. Of course, a stronger and more confident China will be seen differently by others. For some countries, this means competition, even confrontation. For others, it means opportunity. China is very open about its plans. It's not hiding its ambition to shape the next stage of globalization, only led by technology, infrastructure, and new models of governance. Some may call it state capitalism, but for China, it's simply national strategy, one that has worked before and might work again. In the coming months, local governments and state-owned enterprises will begin drafting their own 15th five-year plans, aligning local development with national goals. Private enterprises, too, will be expected to play their part, from innovation and exports to green transition and employment. How this grand strategy translates into real, measurable progress, that's the question we will continue to follow. China's new five-year plans is not just about targets or slogans. It's about resilience, adaptability, and direction, steering the country through uncertain times with a mix of ambition and caution. Whether you see it as opportunity or challenge, one thing is clear: China's long-term game is still unfolding, and the world needs to pay close attention. Thanks for listening to Weekly China Recap with Xing Zheming. If you find this podcast helpful, don't forget to follow, share, and join the conversation. And sorry for some noises in the background. I'm recording this show at the Changi International Airport in Singapore. I'm very happy to be able to travel to this global city in Southeast Asia. And see you next week. Goodbye.